This is a presentation for students on Microsoft Teams and how we're going to be using it as part of distance learning. The first thing we need to have a look at is where one can access Microsoft Teams. Now, of course, as many of you will already be aware, you have full access to the entire Microsoft Office suite via microsoftoffice.com, which is fully available on the World Wide Web on any web-enabled device that you have. It can, however, also be downloaded as an app for your iPad, just as it can on your telephone. And we've trained our teachers in how to use Microsoft Teams as an iPad app, because that, of course, is the shared piece of technology that you should all have and your teachers should have. Let's, however, look at Microsoft Teams on the web for a moment, because that will be the quickest way of looking at it for you right now. So I'm going to jump across to office.com now, and you can see up here that we have the Teams app available, and we're just going to click on that now. That should take me directly in a moment to my team. Now, this is a team that I have set up for my own fifth form class, and as you can see here, I have posted various different posts within this, and there are channels. So there is a general channel for general inquiries, and there will be ones for individual topics. Now, of course, with these, if we click back to the Poetry Anthology one, I've provided information and links into VLE pages here. And of course, you can reply similarly to your class teachers, ask questions and seek clarification. Let's go back to the presentation. When you'll be using the Teams will be set up for your ordinary classes. So I've already provided you with a more general presentation about how we will be doing distance learning. The Teams you can use during the course of completing your VLE tasks via the VLE pages that we've got. But the idea of the team is that you can use it either when the class is actually timetabled to go on, or to post questions about activities. It will, however, be an additional source of support for you during the course of whenever you are working, and we will come in and we will check on those teams regularly, and we will attempt to respond to queries from individuals. Your tutor will also, once a week, be contacting you proactively to seek an individual check-in with you, and they'll be doing that via Teams as well. Now, they will be using video, audio, or the chat or message board function as works best for them. And it's important that with all of the Teams material, the teachers have to be the ones to be initiating the means of communication. In terms of which mean of communication we'll be using for you, of course, you can ask questions via the message board and via the chat functions as you like. When it comes to video or audio, the teacher needs to be the director of when that's used. Housemasters and housemistresses will also be using Teams to keep you up to speed with the activities within the house, and indeed to give a sense of community, because wherever your desk may happen to lay at the minute, you're still a member of the Lancing community. We want you to have that interaction with your peers and to know what's going on here as well. So HMMs will be the people who will keep you very much up to speed with that. How we'll use it? Now, for academic classes, as I say, each individual class teacher, so your standard English teacher, maths teacher, science teacher, etc., will have Teams available for you so that they will be able to ask your questions. Those will be organised into channels within the individual team. So let's just break back again and have another look at that. So we've got a couple of channels up here, and I can add those as they go so that you can organise materials according to topics. Move back to the presentation for a moment. You'll be able to use both the message board function that we just saw up there a moment ago, and that's the equivalent of asking a question in class. And that's something the other students in the class can hear, because often, just as in class, the questions that you ask will be important not just for you, but for others as well. So that forum function is really important, and we actively encourage you, just as we do in class, to ask questions. Similarly, there's the chat function in Teams where you can ask a question one-to-one if you're seeking feedback about an individual piece of work, for example, and you need a little one-to-one contact, you can do that then. That's the same as catching a teacher at the end of a class. We'll try to respond to queries as soon as possible, but of course, we're not necessarily in a situation where we'll be able to do that absolutely live. You'll be working in different time zones. We'll all be working in GMT or British Summertime when we get there. And we'll endeavour to answer those questions as soon as we can. I'm sure you're aware of the fact this is a busy time for teachers as well. We'll do our very best to respond to queries quickly. Teachers, as I mentioned before, will need to be the people that instigate live video or audio conferencing or one-to-one contact. It is technically demanding to do that. We also don't think, given that you're spread all around the world, that live stream teaching and video conferencing is necessarily the way to go, because we're all in England, you're spread across the world. We don't want to get people up at unreasonable times of day and night. We want you to be able to maintain the normal fabric of your school day wherever you may be. So we'll be the ones that instigate when and when we don't use live video or audio conferencing. Teams will also then be used with tutorials and in-houses, and we spoke a little about that already in this presentation, so I won't labour that point too much now. You can obviously pause this and have a look at this slide as you need to. How Teams and the VLE interact are important. So the analogy that I'll use, two sides of the same coin, or the way I like to think of it is cake and icing. So the VLE is like the cake. It's what provides the major substance. It's where the task will be set for each of your individual classes to describe what you need to do, and it's where the pages will be kept with the activities and the resources to help you to do it. Teams then is the icing. It's where you can go to consult with your teacher, to seek clarification, to ask questions, and to do that in a format where your classmates can also hear that information so that you can mutually support one another. It's also where you would stay in contact with your tutor and your housemasters and mistresses. Communication is absolutely vital via distance learning. Do ask questions. We really are here to help you. It's our job and it's our pleasure. We want to do it. We want to take away the anxiety for you about how you're learning. It's a much easier means of communication to do this via Teams than it is via email, because you can imagine managing pile after pile after pile of email is difficult. This helps us to organise it much better. I've already mentioned where we think audio and video will be useful. We'll instigate that. Leave that one with us. A few words about communicating with teachers online. We're sending out a responsible user agreement, and when you access our distance learning materials, you have to agree to abide by that. That is the way we must work. We know that people communicate in other ways on social media online. This is not social media. This is a formal academic context, and we expect your interaction via writing to be like an essay or like an interaction in class, where we expect you to be formal, precise, and polite. This is not, I will stress again, like social media, so text speak, for example, or the informality with which people exchange ideas between one another on social media is not the way we will do things in distance learning. If anybody gets that wrong, they will quickly be called upon it. It is important that we maintain that clarity and courtesy of communication both ways in order that we can help you to learn properly. Thank you for listening to this presentation. Of course, if you're in a situation where you have questions, I would suggest you that the best place to go for those is either to your subject teachers via the Teams, or via your tutor or your housemaster and mistress. But thank you for listening to this. I hope it's been helpful.